Hello and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about a very ancient Indian dynasty which is called as the Mauryan Dynasty or the Mauryan Empire. The Mauryan Empire extended right from 340 to 297 BCE and spread in most parts of India. Even Afghanistan and Pakistan, which are separate countries, were also part of the Mauryan Empire. Chandragupta Maurya was the founder of the Mauryan Empire, which became very massive and significant in the history of India. They even fought battles with Alexander the Great, who came to India to invade the northern parts of India in 326 BCE, preventing the Macedonian king to conquer the other side of the Ganges River. So you can imagine how powerful this empire was, and they also united most of India and prevented outside invasions, especially by Alexander's successors. Chandragupta Maurya was supposedly born in around 340 BCE. There is no exact date as to on which date he was born, and he was reportedly born in Patna, which is in modern Bihar. There is a lot of speculation that he was a son of a king and his mother was a slave. Some historians believe that his father was Sarvartha Siddhi, who was from the Nanda kingdom. Basically, his childhood was spent in a very humble way, and very little record is found about his childhood. We do not have a lot of information about his childhood. Chandragupta Maurya established the Mauryan Empire after defeating Dhananand, who was the last of the Nanda rulers of the Nanda Dynasty, and he was highly unpopular because of his high elaborate taxation policies. The founder of the Nanda dynasty was Mahapadmananda. The Nanda dynasty was supposedly very wealthy dynasty. They had a lot of money and had a very extravagant lifestyle. The Nanda dynasty were the fifth ruling dynasty of Magad, and they had overthrown the Shishunanga dynasty in order to become the ruler and the king of northern India. They had acquired a lot of wealth from elaborate taxation system and also introducing new currency. They used to impose upon a lot of taxes upon the people. That is why the Nanda rulers were highly unpopular amongst the masses. The people of the kingdom were mistreated by the Nanda rulers, but they were great military powers and had a huge control over the entire empire. Dhananand was the last of the Nanda dynasty. He was the youngest son of Mahapadma Nanda. The capital city of the Nanda Empire and the dynasty was Patliputra, which is Patna in the modern time. Dhananand had faced a lot of problems after Alexander's invasion of northwestern part of India and faced a lot of problems from foreign powers who tried to capture India, especially from the Seleucid dynasty. The Seleucid dynasty was followed from Seleucus Nicator, who was the general of Alexander the Great. Chandragupta Maurya was born as a very brave and charismatic child, and he was a born leader. Right from childhood, he had huge aspirations. He thus came across a Brahmin scholar named Chanakya Kautilya, who later on had written Arthashastra. Chanakya had a lot of grudge against the Nanda rulers, especially Dhananand, and wanted to take revenge from him. That is why Chanakya began grooming Chandragupta right from a very early age. He started teaching Chandragupta various tricks and methods to rule over a state and an empire, and also taught him various tactics to raise an army. Chandragupta Maurya also developed friendship with a king from the mountain kingdom. Supposedly, it was Puru, who got defeated and spared by Alexander the Great. Initially, Chandragupta Maurya's army was very small and contained all the commoners, But then he won a series of battles and expanded his army and also laid an army against the Nanda. His army marched towards the Nanda capital at Patliputra in 321 BCE. The capital fell and the Nandas were defeated. Thereafter, the 20-year-old Chandragupta became the ruler and he started his own Mauryan Empire. The Mauryan Empire extended right from the west in Afghanistan to Burma in the east, which is Myanmar, then from Jammu and Kashmir in the north to the Deccan Plateau region in the south, thus establishing one of the greatest empires of India and also appointing Chanakya as the prime minister who used to help him in governance. Chandragupta, according to some ancient Jain texts, had two wives. The first wife was called as Durdhara. Durdhara was the queen consort of Chandragupta Maurya. According to the ancient text of Mahavimsa Tika, she was the first cousin of Chandragupta Maurya and the daughter of Dhananand. Megasthenes, who was a Greek ambassador who had visited Chandragupta's court, did not mention Durdhara's name anywhere in his texts, nor did he mention about Bindusar, who was supposedly the son of Durdhara and Chandragupta Maurya. Megasthenes in his account had given the name Amitraghata as a son of Chandragupta Maurya. But Patanjali, who was an ancient Hindu scholar during this period, did mention about Amitraghata. He said that Bindusar is the same as Amitraghata. The name Bindusar had been propounded because of some reason. There is a story behind the name Bindusar. Bindusar or Amitraghata was the second Mauryan emperor and he was the father of the famous ruler Ashoka the Great. Bindusar's life is not well documented and a lot of information only comes after his death. Most of the account of Bindusar comes from Hemchandra's Parishishta Parvan, which was written thousands of years after his death. Parishishta Parvan was basically upon Ashoka's early life. There is a story about Bindusar's birth. Now Chanakya always feared that Chandragupta will be poisoned and killed someday. So what he did was that he used to mix a very small proportion of poison in his meals every day, which was consumed by Chandragupta unknowingly so that he can adapt himself to the poison. But when Durdhara was heavily pregnant, one day she shared that meal with Chandragupta Maurya and instantly died. But the child was saved because an open surgery was conducted by Chanakya in order to save the unborn child. When the child was taken out from the mother's womb by Chanakya, a drop of his mother's blood that was poisoned dropped on his forehead, leaving a mark which is called as a Bindu. That is why he was called as Bindusar. But originally Bindusar's name was Amitraghata, which was named by Chandragupta Maurya himself. Amitraghata means slayer of enemies. Chandragupta's second wife was Helena, who was a Greek princess. She was the daughter of Seleucus Nicator, who was the governor general and the successor of Alexander the Great. Chandragupta Maurya had fallen in love with the Greek beauty at first sight. They met on the bank of Jhelum river, which is now in Pakistan. Helena also fell in love with Chandragupta. Helena later on Indianized herself. She learned Sanskrit and Indian classical music and then became the empress of Chandragupta Maurya. Helena and Chandragupta also had a son who could not ascend to the throne of the Mauryan Empire. Instead, Bindusar became the emperor. Chandragupta Maurya in his later life had renounced the world and became a Jain monk. He fasted till he died. Bindusar was not as powerful as Chandragupta Maurya, but he did extend his father's empire right till the Deccan, even included the Mysore region. But he could not undertake the kingdom of Kalinga, which was quite prosperous. This was ancient Orissa. Then his son ruled the Mauryan Empire. He was called as Ashoka the Great. He was the third Mauryan Empire who ruled from 268 to 232 BCE. His empire was massive, which included almost the entire India except for Tamil Nadu and Kerala. In 304 BCE, Bindusar welcomed a son named Ashok Bindusar Maurya. His mother's name was Dharma, who was not from the royal family. Ashoka grew up as a bold man who was very fond of hunting. At a very young age, Ashok was given the responsibility to control rebellion at the Punjab city of Taxila. Ashoka had spent most of his childhood in Ujjain and Takshila where he was also educated. There are some accounts which shows that he had killed around 99 of his brothers to ascend to the throne. There are some relics which depicts and mentions Ashok as Devanampiya Piyadasi, which means beloved of the gods. Even though young Ashok was quite skillful and brave, yet he was highly disliked by his father. He had suppressed the revolts which happened in Avanti province at the age of 18, and he also included and extended his policies by expanding it from Afghanistan in the west to Assam in the east and Gangetic Plain in the north to the south of the Deccan. At that time, Kaling was a very powerful region and kingdom of the east, which is now in Odisha. It was politically and economically quite prosperous and independent, and also had a very strong naval forces and trade relations with Far East. Earlier, Chandragupta also tried to acquire it but was pushed back because Kaling had a very powerful and strong army forces. But Ashoka was quite adamant to conquer it. He ended up killing 1 lakh soldiers and 1.5 million civilians, including men, women, and children, in the Kaling War. There was a mass killing, and even the color of Dayanati had changed into red because of the blood of the civilians who had been killed. But that was a turning point in the life of Ashok when he saw heaps of dead bodies lying. Thereafter, he decided to finally quit violence and adopt Buddhism, and to spread Buddhism, peace, and non violence not only in India but also in other parts of the world. He emphasized on spreading the teachings of Gautam Buddha and also formulated Dham, which means righteous living and social conduct. Ashoka had even erected many pillars, stupas, chakras, and monuments, and these relics have become very important archaeological sites today. Ashoka had installed and erected some pillars which were monolithic pillars which were made and carved on a single stone. The Ashokan pillars also depict the four noble truths or dharma or laws, which include enlightenment, ending sansar, endless cycle of birth and rebirth. The Ashokan pillars were installed between 279 to 232 BCE, and on these pillars there are some messages which were written which also depicts the Buddhist teachings. These pillars were around 40 to 50 feet tall and the weight was around 50 tons. They were cut and carved out of a single rock, therefore they are called as monolithic. Now 19 of the original pillars have still survived. Many of them have been turned into fragments and broken. All these pillars have got a lotus which is depicted inverted or upside down. Lotus is a symbol of Buddhism which shows that there is birth after death, and as a lotus is born and bloomed out of muddy water, this also shows that there is an endless cycle of suffering in our lives. Now these pillars also have lions on top as well as bulls and other animals which depict and symbolizes different qualities, like the lion, because Buddha was born in the lion clan or Shakya, that is why there are lions which are depicted on the top of these pillars. Lions even depict royalty as well as leadership. This sculpture, which has got four lions in all directions and was surmounted on an Ashokan pillar, is taken as a national emblem of India. Even Satyamev Jayate has been adopted from the inscriptions which were beneath the lions. There are other animals also depicted here, like horse, bull, elephant, and lion. So basically, Satyamev Jayate means and depicts that there is truth alone which triumphs in the end. These lions depict the sovereignty of Ashoka, which was erected on the capital city of the kingdom of Ashoka. That symbolizes strength, courage, and confidence. The Ashok Chakra has been included in the national flag of India and shows movement of life and stagnation in death.